Awesome. So, hello everyone. Welcome to Delivering a Pitch. I'm so super glad to be here. So, I guess we'll start off with me. So, I'm Vivian. I'm a four-time TEDx speaker. I also founded Student Seas, which is an organization dedicated towards helping students navigate the seas. You get that pun of adulting kind of through towards your personal, academic, and professional development. I'm also working to become a speaker and brand coach just to help other people kind of find their voices besides the societal barriers, because I also found a lot of barriers, especially due to my age, my gender, because I was actually the only person in my class who was interested in business who was a woman, and everyone else were men, and I felt super alone in that and definitely discouraged. So, but I would say that definitely reaching out and trying to find a supportive network kind of outside of women definitely really helps with that motivation. And as you can see, I'm still grade 11, still kind of lost in terms of, going after high school. That's okay. Life, it's okay if you're lost or you don't really know what to do. And that also applies to your organization. It's okay, but as long as you have that passion, that drive, it's all good because you will eventually find a destination with the right guidance and, with the right support as well. I also love hearing about. So I just want to kind of throw out your questions. So get to know everyone first. So kind of how's everyone doing? Kind of what's one fact about yourself? Like you can do it in a chat, you can unmute yourself, but I guess I'll start off just to kind of break the ice. I guess like one fun fact is that sometimes I actually mistake people for mannequins. There's one time I said sorry to one person, but then I ended up, it was a mannequin. So, I am super awesome at recognizing people. But I'll dive deep into it right now. So kind of what the heck is a pitch? Pitch is not just something you throw, right? I guess you're throwing something at someone, but in terms of pitching your idea to someone, it's kind of a little bit of morsel. So you can see a little bit of sampler plate, but not really like a huge dish of who you are and kind of what your initiative will do. And usually it's called elevator pitch in terms of it should be kind of as long as the elevator ride. And kind of the time will depend. Sometimes it's 30 seconds, sometimes it can be as long as 90 seconds. And in other terms with networking, it could be like slowly over time as you get to know someone via a coffee chat, aka kind of, just to get to know that person the first time. It can be used in pitch competitions, definitely with networking, branding, job searching, even fairs or even events as well. It can be used almost anywhere you go. So kind of the main unique things that needs to be interesting, needs to be unique, means you need to stand out fast because an elevator pitch is something that needs to be fast. So it has to really grab your attention from the get-go. Sounds super scary. And of course, it's a learning process of kind of building it. But why do you need one, right? It's like, what's the point of having a pitch? What if I just don't have a pitch? But kind of the first things is opportunities. So the first one is that you can get a new job. Oh yeah, I saw questions like, can you send a group Discord link? Yeah. Do you happen to have the Discord link? If so, you can send it in a chat. That'd be great.
Yes, I'll send it in the chat. Also, it's in our Google Classroom, so just be sure to log in there and you can check it out.
Okay, awesome. So definitely you can use this to get a new job and get others interested in you. For example, when you network with a recruiter, you could use this elevator pitch, introduce yourself, and when they're interested in seeing how unique you are, what your skills are, they can offer you like a job or an opportunity, which is kind of how I managed to also get some speaking opportunities as well through my elevator pitch. Sometimes with others, kind of saying like, hey, tell me a little bit more about yourself. So kind of with that. Second one is branding. So in terms of brand, is how you stand out, how you're unique. And when you stand up for others, you definitely get a higher chance of being remembered. And when you're remembered, and when people really know why you're important, then you get a higher chance of getting the gig, getting that application, get that job, or even having a successful organization or company because it's distinctly rememberable. Last but not least is knowing. So in a sense, it's clarity. In a sense, you know exactly who you are, what you do, and what you want to be. And in terms of your organization or initiative, it's also something where you know exactly what it is. Because to some people, they don't know exactly what your organization does or why it's there. Then it gets kind of muddled and people don't know if it's, the right thing for them. So of course, there's like general basics of a pitch. Of course, sometimes it could be there could be additional things added onto it. There could also be other things you will need to add on necessarily. But in a sense of a pitch, it's also important for you to also grasp the basics of kind of your organization or initiative as well. Kind of for example, who are you? So kind of your name, your organization, and why they should know you. In terms of yourself as well, in which I need to mention that there are different types of pitches. Even though there's an elevator pitch, you could pitch about yourself as a person, and you also pitch your organization or your company. In a sense, it's also kind of just saying like what something is, kind of problems, the solutions, and kind of what you or your organization or company can bring to the table. So definitely like, why should they know you? Kind of like, what exactly are you? Like, it does sound easy, but at the same time, you definitely need to question yourself a lot about it. Second one is, what do you do? And in terms of organization, it could also be what you can do better than others. So like your strengths and your uniquenesses is also something you ask. So in things, it's called a USP. So it's a unique selling proposition. So kind of what makes you unique and why. And last but not least is your audience and mission. So who do you work with exactly and why? And kind of what do you solve? Like what's the solution to the problem that you're going to showcase? And I'm just going to look in the chat for that. Okay, fun. I'm a sometimes poet. You have a twin. Oh, okay, twin brother. That's awesome. Okay. Actually, I don't know how to do poems, so kudos to you for that. You're a directioner. Okay, super awesome. All right. And okay, I'm just gonna give you a solid example. I wish I could give a template. Like I wish I could help you out by giving a template. But there's one thing I want to point out with templates is that it could sound cookie cutter, and when it does sound cookie cutter, people can notice it as well. And that's when people, especially in terms of networking, I'll also be doing a networking workshop, is where people are going to tell you're kind of not really being sincere, quote unquote, even though you don't mean to come across as that. But when you really take the time to make your pitch unique to yourself, it not only makes your brand unique and kind of your organization unique, but also it showcases who you are as a person and kind of gets them interested more quickly. Because when something's, just a template or something or not really branded, you tend to not really pay too much attention to it. But when something's clear, it's interesting, that's when you get hooked. So I'm going to give like a little bit example of kind of how I used to pitch my organization, which I got in kind of multiple aspects of networking that got me far. Okay. To all the students out there, you're in school and you're suddenly thinking about life after high school. Then you realize you're super unprepared and lost to become an adult or even to survive in society. There's so many things that our school didn't teach us. And on top of that, we have societal barriers like our race, our gender, and even more to block us from our success. So what's a student gonna do? Well, that is why I started Student Seas, a nonprofit dedicated towards helping you navigate the seas of adulting by building a global community, also building events and campaigns so you become who you most want to be. Okay, of course, it's not perfect, but I made sure to answer the 4 aspects of the basic pitch. And sometimes it could be more so because for competition, just for later. And of course, there's different types of pitches for different situations. Sometimes you may need to come up with different aspects. One to introduce your organization, one to introduce yourself. So yeah, make sure to keep that in mind when you're doing it. Yeah, it's a fun fact. Of course, I'm also from Vancouver. Yeah, okay, that's awesome. Yeah, skateboard, so it's okay. I have a bicycle, I still can't really ride it. But okay, your last name is Tan. Okay, it's great to see a fellow Tan out there. Okay. But, okay, the first aspect is you're definitely going to need to interrogate yourself a lot. I know it sounds super scary. It's like interrogating yourself, but the reason why is so that you can create the best pitch for yourself. And for you to create the best pitch yourself, you got to ask yourself a lot of questions and know your why. Kind of know why did you start your initiative or your career, kind of why did you decide to go along this path. Second one is definitely your audience. You need to look at the problem you want to solve. A lot of times we focus on kind of the solution, but in fact, it's actually the problem, because when we come up with a solution first, but it's not really a problem that people need in society, that's when something can get quite lost as well. So you got to focus on the problem more and kind of just say like, why is this it? Why it's happening? Who is affected by it? Why are they affected at it? It's also the same as your target market, so who you're targeting to help out. And also another thing which contributes to your uniqueness is like, why are you the person, or why is this the company or the organization to handle the pain points or kind of things that annoy people, that contribute to their problems as well. Because there are other competitors, there are other organizations as well. And there's also other people as well who can do similar things as you. So what makes you unique, which brings you what's your unique selling proposition? I would say that everyone is different, and kind of one of the ways to distinguish yourself is a brand story. This in turn also relates to personal branding as well, but it's important in a pitch as well, because sometimes you can even pitch your story as an elevator pitch. So of course, Honey said at the beginning, middle, and end. And first of all, you need to set the scene. So definitely tell a little bit more about yourself, which allows people to trust you better and makes you come across as more authentic, which makes people even more interested in it. And of course, I just want to say that even though when you do have role models and such, remember that it's yourself. So having your unique quirks, being your unique self, that's where you can really shine and really make the most out of your pitch. And of course, you need to know who you're pitching to as well, which is also your target market sometimes, which is kind of knowing and studying your audience and also kind of trying to think in their shoes. And kind of with that, of course, for your target audience, here's some things you need to keep in mind, also with making of your organization as well. So kind of their gender, kind of maybe their salary, kind of where they're from, kind of what's their background, what's their age, and also 3 key aspects as well, kind of what problems they face, kind of what are some of the things that they're thinking, what are some of the desires that they have, and kind of what are some goals that they set for themselves. And I want to say that not only when you create a target audience, does this help your personal brand and also helping you shape your pitch, but it also helps you kind of shape a persona, aka kind of the ideal person that you want to help in your organization, which really helps with clarity as well. So just want to put that out. And I'm just going to check the chat again. Oh, okay, love bubble tea, love to bake. Hey, I love that too. And graphic design, bike riding. Oh, okay, bike riding, graphic design. So I just want to kind of check with everyone. So everyone, do you have any questions? Like, feel free to put any questions in the chat. Super open to helping out. There's also going to be a Q&A section after this. And I'll, of course, be answering any questions as well. So I know that it can be really intimidating to ask questions. Like, I used to be super intimidated to ask questions, but I want to say that you're not stupid for asking a question. I used to think that, hey, if I'm asking a question, I'm going to be stupid or people are going to laugh. But chances are sometimes people may be thinking the same question as well. And when you ask that question, people say, wow, that person answered it. And I just want to kind of tell you that as well, because I also get what you're feeling when you kind of feel a little bit nervous about asking questions, for sure. And also, I just want to ask, like, okay, how do you capture their attention, right? How can you kind of catch their attention in the pitch, right? You only have so much time. Let's say you have around 10 seconds. This applies to public speaking as well. And kind of with TEDx also, I did learn that you have a short amount of time to grab your attention at the start. And you need to start and finish strong, because usually what people remember is the beginning and the end. I don't know why. The middle seems to get kind of lost, even though it's still really important. It's not something you should overlook, but people tend to remember the beginning and the end. Also, when you're passionate about something, when you keep on telling yourself why you want to start it and kind of why you're passionate about it, that's when you can start feeling your own pitch and feeling your own motivation. And when you pitch something to others, people can tell you're passionate about it or not. Of course, sometimes what I mean by challenging the status quo in normal pitches is that sometimes there are templates online. I'm not going to say that they're bad, but you could use that as a starting point and then tweak it in a sense to make it special to you only. Because sometimes with pitches, of course, when you just only use a template, that's when it could kind of sound robotic in a sense. And when something feels stiff, people don't really connect with it. But when people do connect with your pitch, just because it's unique, just because it's you, it's because people understand it, that's when people will start to take action upon it. And kind of wanting to also capture the attention to, I know I didn't include this, but I also want to kind of just add on, is a call to action. So usually at the end, most of the time, if you can, try to put a call to action. This includes, you can try to ask them, hey, you can reach out to me if you like. You could kind of partner organization, kind of what can they do afterwards? Because telling them something is one thing, but asking them to do something is another. At the same time, there's also some key things to note. Sometimes you don't have to be too formal with your pitch. Like I know with pitches, sometimes competition, sometimes it can be like business things. But a lot of times you don't need to be too formal in a sense, because when you be too formal, you also risk not connecting with the audience as well. Also, even with a template, you could customize your pitch. And I want to say be brutal with your pitch. Do not show it mercy, okay? Because I used to do that with not being, brutal with it and end up going on and on and on. And when you listen to someone go on and on and on about themselves, it can get quite tiring mentally. So it's best to be considerate of others to kind of keep that pitch to a certain amount of time and also be concise about it as well. And of course you say, oh my gosh, there's so many things to worry about, there's so many things to keep in track. But to be honest, like they're not going to get it right the first time or at least completely successful. It's okay because everyone starts somewhere, especially with their pitch. It's a learning process. Let's say that you got this. And of course, there's also another thing. I do want to point out that it's also good to look at people similar or organizations that are similar. It's kind of who's somewhat the same as you. Because when you know what makes them special, you know their strengths and weaknesses, you could kind of see what can you incorporate that makes you better, and also what can you provide that they're missing. So that's also another thing as well to also contribute to your uniqueness, is saying that I could provide this, whereas the other person is missing this. And of course, we're pitching with sometimes with others. Sometimes people can seem uninterested. This also happens in public speaking as well, is that people just have a blank face and you're wondering, is that person interested or not? Sometimes people have it, but it's not their fault. It's just that it's their face when they're listening. But of course, also keep an eye out. I know it sounds harder than it sounds, but also keep an eye out to see if they're interested still or not. Another thing with kind of jargon, fillers, or hyperboles, kind of with exaggerating things way too much, it's really important to be realistic and concise instead, because you only have so much time, and it's best to be kind of real by the situation instead of being too idealistic, because ultimately you're focusing on what real problems in society and what you could do to help solve that and what makes you unique. And sometimes with jargon, sometimes people won't understand it. Even though the jargon can be there to impress others, it might backfire in a sense where when they don't understand you, that's when they can't relate to it. Of course, be you. Shorten your pitch as much as you can and try to connect with others. Try not to be too stiff with it. Another thing, even though when you do have a call to action, another thing I do realize as a mistake is try to ask for too much or suddenly just pitching to people out of nowhere, because that can come across as being a little bit too desperate in a sense. And it's great that you're ambitious and all, but sometimes it's best to also tone it down a bit, because especially when you're networking and you're also trying to pitch to others as well, it's great to kind of ease into it, to know that you're not just there to ask for something. Because in terms of real life, when you put yourself in the shoes of someone who's being pitched to, when someone suddenly pitches to you and asks for a really big thing out of nowhere, it feels like you're kind of being used, or in a sense, just kind of there for their own benefit. And that doesn't feel too great. So it's also important to kind of keep other people's in mind. And also, I know this is going to be a public speaking lesson, not going to dive too much into it, but making sure to kind of keep your eye contact and also pay attention to how you speak is really important as well. I'm sure the next lesson will probably go over that even more. And also, last but not least, there's also things I can help you out with. So I also post on social media and have an email newsletter. You're free to reach out. And yeah, you can also take a look at my content as well, because another thing I will mention in my other lesson with networking is that it's really great for you to practice as well, because every single time when you network with someone, it's also an opportunity to pitch your organization, your company. It's also an opportunity to pitch yourself, so you can learn and you can grow. from other people. And I'm also here to help out as well. Feel free to practice your pitch if you want to. If you're not comfortable or you want to do it alone with me, that's okay as well. And I just want to say, actually not a lot of people reach out afterwards. It's actually pretty surprising, but when you do reach out afterwards, that's when a lot of doors of opportunities can reach out. Last but not least, Student Seas, my organization, can also lend you a hand. So we are trying to help you in personal, professional, and academic development. And another thing that I do want to point out with starting your own organization is really getting the foundations down. Because I kind of just started off as a social media platform. And I suddenly decided, hey, let's do a nonprofit organization because I want to do more impact. Because I saw how students were unprepared and lost for after high school. But that was also when I didn't really kind of clarify the mission, what exactly I was going to do, how I was going to move forward. And that was super lost. That was when I got super lost. So I just want to point that out. That was a mistake I made. And that's where it's also something to learn from. And another thing with networking. So what I'm going to tell you is that I'm here to help you practice your pitch, also practice networking. And also you could pick my brain as long as you need to with starting your own initiative or with personal branding or with public speaking. So yeah, I'm just going to say that's kind of the end of my presentation. So yeah, thank you so much. So here's my personal. As you can see, there's a pattern with Vivian XYZT.